Welcome to Politics Unplugged. Ann Trujillo is off this week. I'm Nicole Brady. This week, the nation said goodbye to a president. President George H.W. Bush, fondly known as Bush 41, was remembered as a war hero who went on to serve his country as the leader of the CIA and vice president before serving as president himself. He also has the rare distinction of being one of 2 U.S. presidents to be the father of another president.
Through our tears, let us know the blessings of knowing and loving you, a great and noble man, the best father a son or daughter could have. And in our grief, let us smile knowing that Dad is hugging Robin and holding Mom's hand again.
And the son there speaking at the funeral this week. Metro State's Dr. Norman Provizer has studied the administrations of many different presidents, including both Bush 41 and 43. Welcome to the show today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Professor, as we remembered President Bush this week, I think it's always interesting to see how people are remembered so many years later, 26 years since he left office almost.
That's correct. And there are a couple of things that come immediately to mind. One thing, people always like an overall picture. And I think you can make a case, a legitimate, strong case, that Bush 41, Bush the Elder, Bush the Wise, he goes by a bunch of names there, but George H.W. Bush was the best, up to this point, one-term president that the United States has ever seen. If you think of his accomplishments during a 4-year span without being reelected, and it's kind of funny because we have all of these fond memories of him, and at one point you have to kind of kick yourself and say, yeah, but he didn't get reelected.
Right.
With all of that. So it just shows you there are a lot of variables involved in elections, and having done a good job, being highly regarded, being enormous, pretty ethical, all of those kind of things, sometimes isn't enough to keep you in office.
Sometimes. And reflecting this week, do you think he's most remembered then for those 4 years and what he accomplished in a very consequential 4 years, or maybe what he did post-presidency? How do you think he was most remembered?
Well, I think when you actually look at the list of achievements while he was in office, once he's elected, you remember he'd been vice president, CIA, we talk about it, ambassador to China, all of these kinds of things, to the UN. It's hard to think of anyone who came to the presidency with a greater resume, a better resume, especially in foreign affairs, than Bush 41, as we always refer to him. And that it was just a very strong resume. But I think there was something else that came out with all the activities surrounding, following his death and the funeral and all the things that occurred lying in state in Washington, that and I refer back to a New York Times columnist, David Brooks, and I'm stealing from him, but that's right, he stole this idea from somebody else, so it all works out. Who actually had this interesting approach that he borrowed, that said people have 2 kinds of things they're known for in their values. You have resume values, the things you accomplish, all your achievements, and you have eulogy values. Those are the things that people say at your funeral, your eulogy, and they're 2 different things.
Fascinating.
Bush actually had both, because he had a strong list of resume values. I can go just through it all, all the stuff. But he also, and this was emphasized even more, I mean, all his achievements were mentioned, but what was emphasized even more was the notion of what a decent person he was, what a family person, was respectful of other people. And those are, in fact, eulogy values. And no one had any problems. There are some people, you want to deliver the eulogy with those values, and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's hard to find anything. But there were things galore when it came to former President Bush.
Before we run out of time here, I want you to share a couple of stories that you know of how he's connected to Colorado, mostly through his sons.
No, we're talking about, that's right, it's not so much a direct connection with him. I mean, he's there and all that kind of stuff. Remember, things that he's administration happened were very important, like the impact of the ADA is everywhere, including Colorado, the Gulf War, all of these kind of things. But he's really connected very much through his sons. Neil Bush lived in Denver and was on the board of a Silverado during the savings and loan mess that we had. It was a real crisis.
Quite an era, yeah.
In the 80s. And he came out of it pretty well, but he was here for that, and so he lived here. And George W. Bush, or Bush 43,
yeah,
kind of gave up alcohol and straightened out his life, which put him back on a path of achieving something, because he was really not going anywhere. And his condition back there is 1986. He did that at the Broadmoor Hotel. So
interesting, right here.
I guess the Broadmoor could put up a plaque. They have all these pictures and everything in Colorado Springs, and they could put up a plaque. This is where George W. Bush found the straight and narrow.
Well, thank you, Dr. Provizer, for sharing these stories with us, and obviously it was a week to remember for the nation. Well, when the next session of the Colorado legislature convenes, we'll be talking about what happens then, coming up.